Welcome back to Sprague Homestead. I'm Nikki, and here is your Mailbag Monday question of the week. So when just getting started, what is the best all-around poultry that a new homesteader can raise? Well, this kind of will be a little bit dependent on where you live. If you're in a really small urban area, the kind of poultry that you're going to do is going to be wildly different than somebody in a suburb versus somebody on a farm. So it really kind of depends on how much space you have. It's also going to depend a lot on your zoning. You might want to check and just make sure. I know everybody does the whole, well, I'll just do what I want until they catch me, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But some areas don't allow quail, don't allow chickens, don't allow ducks. So make sure that you do your due diligence, because that's fun to say, and see what your regulations are. Now, if you don't have any rules, I tend to think that you cannot go wrong with the chicken. They're a little bit hardier than a lot of other birds. They tend to be pretty good eating. You can get them up to 14 weeks, even at the heritage birds. They'll lay. They can be pretty personable. They come in a lot of different fun colors. Housing requirements aren't terrible. And even if you're in a pretty tight area, most places, even if they require permitting, will still allow you to have chickens, right? So they can also brood their own. There's a whole list of reasons why chickens would probably be the better thing to go. Being omnivores are pretty multi-purpose as far as eating scraps, which is cool. They can be the ultimate little composters. You can grow all kinds of fun stuff for them. Kids tend to like chickens, so they're a good family project. If you're in a really tight area and you don't like chickens, maybe you need to keep whatever it is in a garage, you cannot go wrong with Coturnix quail. I have been raising them now for a year and absolutely love them. They're kind of a fun little project. The turnover on them is really quick. So they incubate out at just over 2 weeks. They start laying by the time they're anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, depending on your bloodline and the size of them. And they'll butcher it anywhere from 8 to 10, 8 to 12 weeks. So they're a really quick project. They're not very big. And some people do report having allergies to their eggs, which is interesting. Oftentimes this comes back to whatever you're feeding them, because quail tend to have a slightly higher protein need. So what you end up with is feeding them like turkey and game bird starter, and you got to be really careful to get the non-medicated, because the medicated will come through on the eggs and make some people sick. Now, if you don't like chickens, and lots of people don't, and you're not crazy about quail because they can be kind of messy, another great option is to go with something like a Muscovy duck. So Muscovies aren't truly a duck, they are a goose. I just realized how funny that was as it was coming out of my mouth. But they're technically a goose. They're South American. They are super mothers, super layers, super hatchers, and they make a meat that isn't like normal duck meat. There are many restaurants that will serve certain cuts of Muscovy and compare it to very fine sirloin type steak. So it's a whole different flavor experience. But they're not very noisy. They do fly, and the drakes in particular can be pretty aggressive. They do have claws on the end of their toes. So they can be just a whole different experience, I guess. But those would be my top 3, depending on where you're at and what you like. The good old standby chicken, the Coturnix quail, or the Muscovy duck. So there you have it. There is your question for this week's Mailbag Monday. If you've got other questions, leave them down in the comments. You can always send me an email at srhomestead@yahoo.com. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever else you can find me. I'm all over the place. So that is it. We will see you next time. Happy homesteading.